I'm going to explain you how we're going to approach our writing process around this learning target. So I am going to give you a sequence of numbers throughout this video, so you need to type it to be able to get the points for this. I'm going to do this to make sure you actually watch the video because it's going to be a little bit long. So first, since you're going to be writing now, I need to ask you to be very honest because I'm not there to proctor you. So you're going to be writing on your own, and that means you are not allowed to use word reference or any other dictionary online or excuse me, translator. And you're also not allowed to look at a vocab from your packet or to look at verb conjugations on your handouts. Why? Because we have to mock the situation of you just working in class on demand, like writing on demand without your things to support your writing, but just showing me what you actually are able to do on your own. Because this is going to be our first draft. I'm not going to grade this, and I'll explain this in a minute. But even though I'm not grading it, I need to see what you're able to give me and to do on your own. So please do that. I'm trusting you. Of course, I can check if you're going to look at your unit packet or not, but I believe in you and I trust you, and hopefully we can walk this process together in the best way possible. So you're going to be writing around the learning target that you're familiar with already. So based on the videos you recorded yesterday, you gave me a lot of feedback. I really appreciate it. I changed the rubric, and I'm going to show you the rubric now. But before showing you the rubric, I'm going to give you the first sequence of numbers. So it's 7, 8, 5, 2, 3, 0. So make sure you type that. 7, 8, 5, 2, 3, 0. So I'm going to show you the rubric right now. Okay, so this is the rubric. And I'm going to make it bigger so you can see better. Going to zoom in. So guys, I'm going to explain you only the proficient range. This is when you hit the target, you're in the proficient. When you exceed expectations, you go to advanced. Before I go into detail with the proficient section, I know, and this is what I always try to say in class, that first, I'm not looking for perfection, but proficiency. Second, that you don't focus on your grade, but on your progress in developing your skills. Of course, I'm going to use this rubric at the very end to grade your final version of your writing piece. And this is the points I'm going to use in the rubric. So from 1 to 4 with half points in the middle. Okay, in the language control part, a lot of you told me that I should incorporate these specific tenses. You said preterite, imperfect, and present tense because you have worked with them already, and you should show some more, like a higher mastery level, which I agree, so I included that. A lot of you also said that maybe extra points or the advanced range should be to use the subjunctive. So I incorporated that in part of the advanced. So then in vocab, you told me, Senora, we should incorporate maybe vocab from previous unit. And that is right. Spanish is just like math in that sense. Like you cannot forget about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and division or dividing if when you're working with more difficult and more complex content, because that's the basis, right? So it's the same in Spanish. I'm assuming you're going to use vocab from previous year. That's a given. But you should make sure that you incorporate vocab from the unit packet, okay? In the proficient range, you do that. You also use comparative structures, because you also told me, Señora, we have worked with the más que, tanto como, menos que, so we should show that we can do that. And also that you attempt to use circumlocution. You attempt. Might not be fully correct, but you communicated your point, you attempted, it went well. And then the advanced, it expands way more on vocab, including personal vocab. And some students said, Señora, it's kind of hard now to incorporate personal vocab because you're not in the classroom with us. You usually write a lot of words on the board and we can write them down. And I completely agree with you. So we're going to start our first draft. So after our first draft, and I'm going to see what you're able to write, we're going to do an activity for me to help you with personal vocab. So I'm not really expecting for you to include personal vocab in this first draft that you're going to do today. And I'm going to explain more on that in a couple of minutes, okay? And then the advanced also uses comparative structures and correctly uses circumlocution. Then the task completion, I separated because task completion had the task completion aspect and the cultural aspect. So I separated those two. I thought it would be better to have two different categories there. So for task completion, you complete in the proficient range the 2 prompts. I am what I eat, and my lifestyle influences what I eat. Okay, and in the advanced range, you just elaborate and expand way more by giving me more details. And it could be, a lot of you said personal experiences. I really like that. And then the cultural aspect, the proficient range says I include relevant information about American culture and or the target culture. So the activity that you're doing, the learning target, guys, if we go back to the learning target, and I would like to do it, it's telling me what you eat and all of your eating habits and how that defines your identity. And your identity has a ton to do with your culture. So in the rubric, it says here that you should be able, and I'm going to make it bigger again. Here we go. That you include American culture. You are all American in my classroom, despite your origin, despite maybe the specific family traditions you have at home. The thing that you have in common, that you're all part of American culture, and we discuss the symbols, the practices, the products that define American culture according to you. So you should include that in the part of the target culture if you're making comparisons with the Hispanic culture. That's the target culture, Hispanic culture in our class, because we're studying Spanish. So you can talk about Hispanic culture in general. You can talk about a specific country like Spain, Mexico, Chile. You have to decide that. I am going to give you the second sequence of numbers so you can type it again. So it would be 9, 2. So far you should have typed 785230992. Okay, and then the organization part, a lot of you mentioned, Señora, we have been working with the structure of a good text this couple of days, so the proficient should include the introduction, body, and conclusion, so I added it here. Is somewhat logical order in the text. And then you have multiple sentences. You have sentences that are complex because they answer multiple questions. And you use some transitions to connect your thoughts. And the advanced goes beyond that, of course. And you can read the description there later. So this is the rubric, guys, you're going to use. Now, today you're writing your first draft. And you're going to write your first draft in this document. You can print it at home. You can download it and work with it on Notability, but nobody is typing. You should print it at home and handwrite, or you should handwrite on Notability with your iPad, okay? I would prefer that. I guess if you can't print it at home for some reason and you don't like working with your stylus and Notability, I will allow you to write on a piece of paper, but please, it has to be double spaced. And why I wanted you to do this, because here you have the numbers and I need to make sure all of you write a minimum of 250. And why 250? Because in Spanish 2, you usually write from 150 to 250. So you shouldn't be writing less than that in Spanish 3. So 250 at the minimum, okay? I'm not gonna give you a max because I don't want to limit your creativity in that sense, in that respect. And a lot of you also said, Señora, why don't we include in the rubric like the ideas or the topics or themes we should include? And some of you said we should talk about bulimia, anorexia, we should talk about seguir una dieta. And you could do that to kind of like enrich your outline and like go over those things. I don't want to impose too much on you because I don't want to like limit your creativity, so you can figure that out. But my piece of advice for today to start your writing process should be having your rubric, your outline there, and the document in which you're going to write, so that you can use the rubric to kind of like rearrange your outline a little bit, and then you can use your outline to start writing. Okay, this is how you're approaching this task for today. Now I know this video is a little bit long already, but I need to communicate all of this to you. So I'll give you one more piece of information and I'll let you start writing. So this draft that you are writing, and I need to show you here on Canvas, it is not the grade that you get on the draft. I mean, not the grade. How can I explain this in a good way? The draft is not going to be graded with that grade that will go to your grade book, okay? Because this is a formative activity. Like, I'm trying to see how you're doing your writing. Like in class, we do a lot of this. Sometimes you write a short piece or you speak in class, and I'm not like grading everything you do. Because I'm giving you feedback in the process. So I don't want to start grading every single activity that I assign you on Canvas, because that's not right. I'll be grading forever. And I need to make sure I grade your work when you're ready to show me that you are successful, like that you're going to succeed. That's my approach as a teacher, at least. So this is what I did, and I'll show you in Canvas. So if you go to assignments, I mean, you don't have this view because you're not a teacher, but you know that our gradebook is divided in vocab, structures, culture, that's 10%, and then you go to the modes of communication, presentational 30, and then we have interpretive 30, and then interpersonal 30. And that's how we get our 100 for our gradebook. I added another category in our assignments or grades that it's called formative, and it will be all of these activities that I'm going to give you till the end of the year that are super important. Like the fact that they are not graded with a grade that goes in the grade book, that doesn't mean that they are not important, because on the contrary, like it's giving me information on how you're doing to make sure you get to the point in which you're going to be successful. So I need to charge my computer. Here you have the draft, see? So I'm going to click here so you can see it. Of course, it's 0%, so it's not gonna affect your grade, your final grade, but I'm gonna give it points so that you could imagine like, oh, if this had been graded, like this would have been the grade that I would have gotten, you know? But actually, that's not gonna affect your final grade. I really hope you're following me here. So you're gonna have that section there. So I wanted to show it to you so you know, okay? The formative section, which is 0%, as you can see here. Okay, so now you can go ahead and start writing. Use the rubric, guys. That's the idea of having created this rubric together, and that's why I ask you for your opinion. So you can use it to guide your writing. You can modify your outline also based on the rubric and start writing here. And guys, super important as well, try to do your best not to look at your packet, please, and to your handouts, because I really need to see what you're able to do with that support there. So make sure you display academic honesty, okay? Buena suerte.